There's a Sunbelt state where Miami-Dade County alone recorded a net domestic outflow of 67,418 residents in 2024, the worst of any U.S. county classified as high flood risk, where the average home insurance premium $7,562 in 2026, where the condo market shed $109 billion in value in a single month, and where the marketing brochure still describes it as the perfect place to retire. The state is Florida, and it's not even alone on this list. Across America's Sunbelt, the migration story of 2026 has been quieter and more structural than the headlines suggest. Not the cliché where Texas and Florida keep absorbing everyone. Not the boom narrative that dominated 2020 to 2022. The reversal. The state-level correction that has begun showing up in Census Bureau Vintage 2025 estimates, in Redfin flood risk migration data, and in the daily decisions of homeowners opening insurance bills that's separated from their household budgets. According to Census Bureau Vintage 2025 estimates, released in March 2026, several major Sunbelt states experienced sharp deceleration in net domestic migration or outright reversal 2024 to 2025. According to Redfin analysis, high flood risk areas of the United States recorded a net domestic outflow of 29,027 people in 2024, the first negative reading since 2019. According to Zillow's Home Value Index, Sunbelt states led the country in year-over-year price declines in 2025, with Arizona at negative 6.8% and Florida at negative 5.1%. According to Insurance.com and Insurify carrier filings, home insurance premiums in Sunbelt states have climbed 50% to 90% since 2022, separating household budgets from local wage growth. And underneath those numbers, the daily reality is not subtle. Neighborhoods emptying, insurance carriers exiting or repricing, property values reversing, retirement migration reversing, climate risk reassessed by carriers, water authorities, and increasingly by residents themselves. In this countdown, we're exposing 10 Sunbelt states no one wants to live in anymore. Not the cliché version where every warm state is dying, the real one. The version where Census Bureau data, Redfin flood risk migration records, and Insurify carrier filings show sustained multi-year deterioration in specific Sunbelt states for specific structural reasons. One state on this list posted the steepest single-year statewide home value drop in America. Another had its largest metropolitan area shift from population gain to loss of 62,454 residents in a single year. A third experienced sustained insurance carrier exits that transformed the cost of home ownership. A fourth watched its condo market shed $109 billion in a single month. A fifth had population decline outright for the first time in decades. Subscribe before your state's next census update. Like the video if you moved to a Sunbelt state during the pandemic boom and are now doing math you did not anticipate. Let's break it down. Number 10, South Carolina. The Palmetto state where inbound migration remains positive on aggregate, but where coastal insurance costs have climbed roughly 60% between 2022 and 2025, disrupting the affordability narrative that drove the boom. There's a state where coastal home insurance climbed roughly 60% in 3 years, where the pension system remains in distressed status at 59.9% funded, where the boom-era migration has moderated substantially, and where the affordability advantage that drove the growth story has narrowed year over year. Welcome to South Carolina. The numbers. South Carolina coastal home insurance climbed roughly 60% between 2022 and 2025 per Insurify. South Carolina public pension system is funded at approximately 59.9% per Equitable Institute in distressed status. South Carolina. Charleston metro property values have moderated from the 2021-2022 peak. South Carolina taxpayer burden reached $8,100 per resident per Truth in Accounting 2025. South Carolina net domestic migration has moderated from peak boom-era levels per census vintage 2025. South Carolina coastal counties face structural insurance market pressure that mirrors Florida in miniature. What it's like. Living in South Carolina is like dating someone who keeps insisting they're doing better than ever while their credit card bills tell a different story. Picture this. You're a 47-year-old recent transplant in Charleston in 2026. You moved from New Jersey to escape the property tax. Your homeowner's insurance climbed 60% in 3 years. Your property tax is lower, but your carrying cost is not. You're starting to understand that you traded one fiscal pressure for another, where it gets uncomfortable. South Carolina's structural problem is that the growth absorption has slowed while the carrying costs have continued to climb. The insurance carriers are repricing. The pension pressure remains. The boom-era in-migration has moderated. The affordability advantage that drove the migration has narrowed year over year. Sharp contrast. South Carolina and North Carolina are direct neighbors. North Carolina has stronger pension funding at 87%. South Carolina remains in distressed pension status. Same coast, different fiscal cushions. Number 9, Tennessee. The volunteer state where the Nashville boom that added 325,000 residents between 2020 and 2024 has been quietly followed by softening migration and rising costs in specific submarkets. There's a state where Nashville home prices climbed substantially during the boom, where insurance premiums have climbed alongside broader Southeast trends, where inbound migration has moderated from boom-era peaks, and where specific submarkets face carrier pressure that the state-level averages obscure. Welcome to Tennessee. The numbers. Tennessee added approximately 319 net residents between 2020 and 2024 per census data. Tennessee inbound migration moderated in 2024-2025 relative to the boom-era peak. Tennessee Smoky Mountain and rural adjacent areas have absorbed wildfire and severe weather insurance pressure. Tennessee pension system is funded at 104%, the strongest in America, giving residents no fiscal reason to leave. Tennessee median home price has climbed substantially in Nashville and Chattanooga metros. Tennessee affordability advantage relative to California and Northeast has narrowed year over year. What it's like. Living in Tennessee is like dating someone genuinely charming whose newfound popularity has started to affect their rates. Picture this. You're a 55-year-old Nashville area homeowner in 2026. Your home value is up 55%. Your property tax climbed alongside the reassessment. Your insurance premium climbed 24% over 2 years. Your friend who moved from California in 2021 is now considering Alabama for the affordability, where it gets uncomfortable. Tennessee's structural problem is that the migration success has produced cost pressure the state's brand was not built around. The prices climbed. The insurance climbed. The affordability gap that drove the migration has narrowed. The boom-era arrivals face different math than the pre-2020 R8. Sharp contrast. Tennessee and Kentucky are direct neighbors. Kentucky has weaker pension and lower absolute prices. Tennessee has stronger pension and higher absolute prices. Same region, opposite fiscal profiles. Number 8, Nevada. The Silver State, where the tourism-anchored economy has been softening, where 2025 home sales hit their lowest level since 2007, and where the no-state income tax appeal has been offset by housing correction and hospitality volatility. There's a state where Las Vegas 2025 home sales hit their lowest level since 2007, where unemployment climbed to 5.7% in 2025, where home prices softened after climbing 35% between 2020 and 2024, and where the retirement migration model faces sustained economic volatility. Welcome to Nevada. The numbers. Nevada home prices climbed approximately 35% between 2020 and 2024, then softened in 2025 per Zillow. Las Vegas 2025 home sales hit their lowest level since 2007 per Las Vegas Realtors. Nevada unemployment rate climbed to roughly 5.7% in 2025, above the national average. Nevada has lost residents to Idaho, Arizona, and Texas in 2025 per Census Vintage 2025. Nevada tourism sector employment has been more volatile than the broader economy. Nevada convention calendar bookings remain below 2019 baseline. What it's like. Living in Nevada is like dating someone in hospitality who keeps insisting next quarter will be great while their hours keep getting cut. Picture this. You're a 51-year-old in Henderson in 2026. Your home value climbed in 2021 and 2022. Your home value softened in 2024 and 2025. Your tourism-adjacent job has been less predictable for 2 years. Your retirement plan assumed Vegas would keep appreciating, where it gets uncomfortable. Nevada's structural problem is that the tourism-anchored economy does not insulate the housing market during a correction the way diversified state economies do. The tourism revenue softened. The workforce loses hours. The home values lost support from local wage growth. The retirees who bought in 2020 face different math than the retirees who bought before. Sharp contrast. Nevada and Arizona are Sunbelt neighbors. Arizona has more diversified employment. Nevada's tourism exposure produces more severe correction risk. Hey, before we get into the top 7, the states we're about to cover are the ones where the Sunbelt migration reversal has been most extensively documented in Census Bureau Vintage 2025 estimates, in Redfin flood risk migration data, and in Insurify carrier filings. If this list has been useful, hit subscribe, because the next one is 10 American cities where the property tax bill just doubled, and you'll want to see if your city is on the list. Like the video if you moved to a Sunbelt state during the pandemic boom. Drop a comment if you're considering leaving your Sunbelt state. Now let's keep going. Number 7, New Mexico. The land of enchantment where inbound migration slowed to negative territory in 2024-2025, and the oil-dependent revenue model faces structural pressure alongside the demographic contraction. There's a state where net domestic migration was negative 10,526 in the year, ending July 2025, where oil and gas severance taxes account for a substantial share of general fund revenue, where the affordability advantage that historically anchored the state has narrowed, and where the cumulative pressure has reduced the retirement migration story. Welcome to New Mexico. The numbers. New Mexico net domestic migration was negative 10,526 in the year ending July 2025 per Census Vintage 2025. New Mexico population declined outright by approximately 1,000 in 2024-2025. New Mexico oil and gas severance taxes account for a substantial share of general fund revenue. New Mexico taxpayer burden reached $7,800 per resident per Truth in Accounting, 2025. New Mexico median household income sits below national averages, compressing affordability advantage. New Mexico oil price volatility has produced sustained revenue swings the state budget cannot absorb without reserves. What it's like. Living in New Mexico is like dating someone artistic and interesting whose financial situation depends entirely on a single client. Picture this. You're a 41-year-old in Santa Fe in 2026. Your salary is below what your skills would earn across the state line in Texas. Your state employee neighbor mentions the budget is fragile. Your cousin moved to Austin in 2023 and now owns a home. You're considering the same path. Where it gets uncomfortable. New Mexico's structural problem is that the state's revenue depends on oil and gas commodity prices while the population is contracting. The commodity revenue swings with prices. The population is contracting. The federal employment is stable, but not growing. The affordability advantage has narrowed relative to Texas and Arizona. Sharp contrast. New Mexico and Texas are neighboring states. Texas has diversified employment beyond commodities. New Mexico has narrower diversification and deeper commodity exposure. Same region, very different economic structures. Number 6, Georgia, the peach state where Hurricane Helene caused $5.5 billion in damage in September 2024, where State Farm announced a 27% home insurance rate hike, and where the growth trajectory has been quietly reset by climate and insurance pressures. There's a state where Georgia had 4,356 foreclosure starts in Q1 2026, fourth most in America, where Insurify projected 9% premium increases in 2025 and 10% in 2026, where Atlanta Metro spec building has produced softer buyer demand, and where the migration reversal has begun showing up in census data. Welcome to Georgia. The numbers. Georgia had 4,356 foreclosure starts in Q1 2026, fourth most in America per Adam. Georgia absorbed Hurricane Helene's $5.5 billion in damage in September 2024. State Farm announced a 27% home insurance rate hike in summer 2024. Insurify projected 9% premium increases in 2025 and 10% in 2026. Georgia net domestic migration has moderated from boom-era peaks per census vintage 2025. Georgia signed legal reform bills in April 2025 to address insurance market litigation with limited immediate effect on premiums. What it's like. Living in Georgia is like dating someone whose summers used to be predictable and now show up with surprises that cost 5 figures. Picture this. You're a 42-year-old in suburban Atlanta in 2026. Your home value is up modestly. Your insurance went up 27% in 2024 and another 9% in 2025. Your property tax went up because the home value went up. You're starting to look elsewhere for the math, where it gets uncomfortable. Georgia's structural problem is that climate disruption, insurance repricing, and migration moderation have combined to test the growth narrative that built modern Atlanta. The insurance carriers are repricing. The buyers are hesitating. The Helene damage exposed inland climate risk carriers had not priced. Sharp contrast. Georgia and North Carolina both absorbed Helene. North Carolina has held property values better. Georgia is showing earlier and clearer stress. Number 5. Alabama, the Yellowhammer state where insurance premiums averaged $4,082 in 2025, the 7th highest in America, where rural hospital closures have accelerated, and where the taxpayer burden compounds the household-level cost compression. There's a state where home insurance averages $4,082, the 7th highest in America, where 28% of rural hospitals face closure risk, where the taxpayer burden reached $8,000 per resident, and where Medicaid non-expansion has left healthcare access more limited than in expansion states. Welcome to Alabama. The numbers. Alabama home insurance averages $4,082, the 7th highest in America per Insurify. Alabama has 28% of rural hospitals at risk of closure per Chartis 2026. Alabama taxpayer burden reached $8,000 per resident per Truth in Accounting 2025. Alabama has not expanded Medicaid, limiting rural healthcare access. Alabama's structural shortfall reached $11.5 billion at the close of FY 2024. Alabama coastal insurance premium pressure has hit specific Gulf-adjacent counties. What it's like. Living in Alabama is like dating someone who insists they're financially fine while quietly running up a tab their friends are starting to notice. Picture this. You're a 54-year-old in Birmingham in 2026. Your insurance climbed 22% over 2 years. Your state legislator tells you the budget is balanced. The audited financial report tells you the state is short $11.5 billion. Your kids left for Nashville and Charlotte, where it gets uncomfortable. Alabama's structural problem is that the affordability narrative has been overtaken by insurance repricing and healthcare access compression. The insurance climbs. The rural hospitals close. The healthcare access narrows. The affordability gap that drove migration has narrowed year over year. Sharp contrast. Alabama and Tennessee are direct neighbors. Tennessee carries a taxpayer surplus of $10,900. Alabama carries a burden of $8,000. Same region, very different fiscal management. Number 4, Texas. The Lone Star State, where 10,617 foreclosure starts in Q1 2026 ranked first in America, where 87% of Texas builders conducted layoffs in 2025, and where the boom that built modern suburban Texas is now testing whether demand can support what was built. There's a state where Austin days on market reached 89.7 with average price drops of $23,833, where property taxes remain among the highest in America at 1.74% effective, where hail damage volume was the highest in America in 2024, and where the cumulative pressure has produced sustained outmigration to Tennessee and other lower-cost states. Welcome to Texas. The numbers. Texas had 10,617 foreclosure starts in the first quarter of 2026, the most of any state, according to Adam. Texas property taxes remain among the highest in America at roughly 1.74% effective. Texas builders conducted layoffs at 87% per John Burns survey, highest in America. Austin home days on market reached 89.7 days in Q1 2026, with price drops of $23,833. Texas home insurance premium increases averaged 23% over 2 years. Texas hail damage volume in 2024 was the highest in America, driving carrier reassessment. Reddit quote, Texas is the state where the no-income tax pitch lasted exactly until the first property tax bill arrived, and the math made sense for nobody except the people who left. What it's like. Living in Texas is like dating someone who built a wall of new houses for buyers who quietly stopped coming. Picture this. You're a 41-year-old in suburban Austin in 2026. Your home was approved at 3.2% in 2021. Your property tax bill consumed 3 weeks of your salary. Your insurance climbed 38% over 2 years. Your colleague moved to Tennessee in early 2026. Where it gets uncomfortable. Texas's structural problem is that the no-income tax brand was real, but the property tax, insurance, builder oversupply, and foreclosure concentration have reshaped the cost of living math. The builders responded to 2021 demand by building through 2024. The buyers ran out in 2023. The inventory has been working through ever since. Sharp contrast. Texas and Tennessee are both no state income tax states. Tennessee has lower property taxes and lower home insurance. Same income tax structure, very different total cost of ownership. Number 3, Arizona, the Grand Canyon state, posting the steepest statewide home value drop in America, where climate, water, and cost pressures have compounded against a retirement migration model that no longer works. There's a state where home values dropped 6.8% year over year in 2025, the steepest statewide decline in America, where Phoenix recorded over 70 days above 110 degrees in summer 2024, where the Colorado River water allocation continues to face structural pressure, and where the cumulative pressure has produced outmigration among retirees. Welcome to Arizona. The numbers. Arizona home values dropped 6.8% year over year in 2025, the steepest statewide decline per Zillow. Phoenix recorded over 70 days above 110 degrees in summer 2024, the most on record. Arizona. Colorado River water allocation continues to face Tier 1 shortage pressure. Arizona home insurance premiums have climbed alongside other Sunbelt states. Arizona population growth has slowed substantially from its 2020-2022 peak. Arizona electricity costs in summer 2024 and 2025 rose substantially as cooling demand intensified. What it's like. Living in Arizona is like dating someone unbelievably sunny who keeps avoiding the conversation about the water bill and the AC costs. Picture this. You're a 67-year-old retiree in Phoenix in 2026. You moved from Minnesota in 2021 for the affordability and warmth. Your home value has dropped roughly 7%. Your electric bill in July was $580. Your insurance climbed 22% in 2 years. Where it gets uncomfortable. Arizona's structural problem is the convergence of climate intensity, water uncertainty, and home value decline against a population that relocated for affordability. The summers got longer, the water got scarcer, The home values dropped 6.8%. The retirees who arrived in 2021 are doing math they never expected. Sharp contrast. Arizona and Nevada are Sunbelt neighbors. Nevada cooled with less price decline. Arizona fell furthest and its sellers froze hardest. Number 2, North Carolina. The Tar Heel state where Hurricane Helene damage exposed inland climate risk carriers had not priced, where nationwide non-renewed over 10,000 policies in 2024, and where the growth narrative has begun testing against structural insurance disruption. There's a state where nationwide announced non-renewal of more than 10,000 homeowner policies in 2024, where Helene caused regional damages over $40 billion in September 2024 with mountain flooding, where coastal insurance premiums climbed roughly 60% between 2022 and 2026, and where post-Helene reassessment of inland flood risk has produced sustained premium pressure. Welcome to North Carolina. The numbers. Nationwide announced non-renewal of more than 10,000 homeowner policies in North Carolina in 2024. Hurricane Helene caused regional damages over $40 billion in September 2024, with significant western North Carolina flooding. North Carolina coastal insurance premiums climbed approximately 60% between 2022 and 2026. North Carolina. Mountain insurance has been disrupted by post-Helene inland flood risk reassessment. North Carolina remains a top inbound migration destination, but at moderated rates. North Carolina nationwide non-renewal was among the largest single-carrier policy withdrawals in state history. What it's like. Living in North Carolina is like dating someone with genuine strong values whose summers keep showing up with new surprises. Picture this. You're a 45-year-old Asheville homeowner in 2026. Your home was damaged in Helene. Your insurance settlement covered 60% of repair costs. Your carrier sent a non-renewal notice 6 months later. Your daughter is suggesting you relocate, where it gets uncomfortable. North Carolina's structural problem is that the growth-anchored insurance stability has been reset by Helene in ways the state's growth narrative did not anticipate. The coastal disruption was expected. The mountain disruption was not. The actuarial models have updated. The premiums are following. Sharp contrast. North Carolina and Tennessee are neighboring southeast states. Tennessee has had less Helene damage impact. North Carolina has absorbed the most severe hurricane-driven insurance reassessment of any inland mountain state. Number 1, Florida, the Sunshine State that recorded the largest domestic outflow of any high flood risk county in America, where 12 counties sit on the ATTOM Riskiest 50 list, where the average insurance premium reached the highest in America, and where the convergence of climate, insurance, condo, and migration pressures has produced the most extensively documented urban migration reversal in America. There's a state where Miami-Dade County recorded a domestic outflow of 67,418 residents in 2024, where the average home insurance premium hit $7,562 in 2026, where 12 of the 50 riskiest counties in America sit within Florida, where the condo market shed $109 billion in a single month in 2025, and where the compounding effect has produced the most extensively documented urban migration reversal in America. Welcome to Florida. The numbers. Miami-Dade County recorded a domestic outflow of 67,418 residents in 2024 per Redfin, worst of any U.S. flood risk county. Florida average home insurance premium reached $7,562 in 2026, the highest in America per insurance.com. Florida has 12 of the 50 riskiest counties in America per ATTOM Q1 2026. Florida lost an estimated $109 billion in home value in a single month in 2025. Florida condo special assessments post-Surfside reforms have produced six-figure bills for individual owners. Reddit quote. Florida is the state where the insurance is a second mortgage. The condo assessments are a third mortgage, and the home value notification arrives every month with a number nobody wants to read. What it's like. Living in Florida is like dating someone who looked perfect on the brochure and turned out to have hurricane damage nobody wants to inherit. Picture this. You're a 71-year-old Pinellas County retiree in 2026. You moved from Connecticut in 2018. Your insurance premium tripled between 2020 and 2025. Your HOA assessment after Helene and Milton was $14,000. Your home value is down 7% from 2022. Your daughter is researching North Carolina for you, where it gets uncomfortable. Florida's structural problem is the full convergence of every major Sunbelt migration reversal factor in a single state. The climate is intensifying. The insurance carriers are exiting or repricing. The condo mandates produce six-figure assessments. The retirement migration model that built modern Florida has reversed. Sharp contrast. Florida and North Carolina are both Southeast retirement destinations. North Carolina has absorbed Florida leaver migration in significant volume since 2024. Florida has lost more residents to North Carolina than at any time in the past 30 years. So there it is. Sunbelt states no one wants to live in anymore. On the public record in Census Bureau Vintage 2025 estimates in Redfin flood risk migration data in insurance.com and Insurify carrier filings in Adam Q1 2026 Housing Impact Report. States where the insurance market has restructured. States where the climate risk has been reassessed. States where the property values have declined. States where the migration model that anchored the growth has reversed. States where residents who can move are quietly choosing the alternatives. The Sunbelt states with stable growth in 2026 share specific characteristics. They have functional insurance markets, moderated exposure to climate disruption, diversified economies not dependent on tourism, and demographic patterns that retain working-age residents. The 10 states on this list have varying combinations of the opposite conditions. Some are absorbing insurance disruption for the first time. Others have been absorbing it for a decade. The insurance climbed, the values declined, the migration reversed, the residents left. If this list helped, share it with the friend who keeps insisting the Sunbelt is where everyone still wants to be. Hit subscribe, because next we're breaking down 10 American cities where the property tax bill just doubled. Drop a comment if you're considering leaving your Sunbelt state. And remember, the worst Sunbelt reversal isn't the loud one with the headlines. It's the quiet one, where the insurance bill arrives, the property tax notice follows, and the residents who did the math left before anyone announced the reversal.